question? Okay, so these are just examples of how SQL injection attacks could be launched. So the solution for that is to do what? Sanitization. So that's the simple and best solution. Of course, depending on the programming environment you use, there may be some specific solutions. So for example, if you use Java, you could use prepare statements. So there's a class by name prepare statements that you can use in Java that allows you to get around all these problems. Okay? So where you use a programming environment, because you need to what? Execute, embed all these queries in a language, right? To access the database and then fetch the results and then display to the user. So that's what I mean by the programming environment. So whatever you use, PHP, Java, C++, whatever you use has their own features to prevent this. But in general, sanitization is the preferred approach. What it means by sanitization, just pass through the input and make sure there's no special character. And if you're expecting, say, an integer in this case, and make sure the user passes an integer, not like a string. Okay? Or always try to be careful with the single quotes. You can have a whitelist and blacklist also. Especially the blacklist will be the set of characters that should not be there. Okay? So if your input, you're sure that it shouldn't have a single quote or a semicolon and all those things. If at all you see such characters in your input, just write an error message and don't execute the query. Okay? So that's what we mean by blacklist. A whitelist is what? Is opposite, only a set of acceptable characters. So your input should have characters only from that list. So if your input has any character that is not in the whitelist, then you just don't execute that query. Is that clear? So that's what is meant by a whitelist and blacklist approach. And so that's what you normally do when you want to sanitize your input. Okay? Any questions? Now, the next one is going to be the cross-site scripting attack. Does anyone have any background on this cross-site scripting?
You can go in the back.
Okay. All right. Let's. So the way I have prepared this is kind of going through some small case studies or examples, so to make it very interesting to understand. I don't know why all these things come up. This computer is slow. So a cross-site scripting is a kind of code injection attack. Even the SQL injection attack is as an example for code injection. What it means is you have one programming environment, and then you are directly embedding your SQL queries into that and executing it, right? So that's why it's called a code injection. So whatever you pass gets injected into the code, and then you execute the code. Similarly, you could have vulnerabilities in your web if you have some inputs that you accept from the user. Okay, so mainly the problem comes when you accept inputs from the user and directly execute those inputs without validating those inputs. So for example, some websites could ask you to enter your name, and then once you log in, they will welcome you by telling welcome so and so your name, right? So it means it's executing your input. So it has to check whether you pass the right input. Okay? So instead of passing your name, if you enter some JavaScript, as we see, that will pull out some information from the database, or will transfer some cookies from that website to some other website, then all troubles could come up. Okay? So that's what you're going to see within this. So cross-site scripting attack typically means an attack where the user trusts a website. Okay? So later we'll see another form called cross-site request forgery. So the two kinds of attacks you're going to see. So we go one by one. Cross-site request, cross-site scripting is the first one.
Dr. May, which module are you on?
Module 6. Web security. And And then, so this cross-site scripting really means the user trusts a website. Okay, and then so if a website is not carefully developed, then the user could be subjected to this attack. Okay? Then the next one will be called cross-site request forgery. Called XSRF. Here the website trusts the user. So when the website trusts the user, it goes ahead and executes whatever the user requests. Alright? So this is a very primary difference between the two attacks. Okay? Now in cross-site scripting, there could be two types of such attacks called persistent and non-persistent attacks. The persistent attack is something that once you embed a script in a suitable code, it will keep on, it has the kind of vulnerability to stay there for a long time and cause long-term effects. Okay, as we go through an example. A non-persistent is not that dangerous. Okay, so let's see, there is an attacker by name Gerald. He wants to steal cookies, gather cookies from users who access this Harriet's website. So Harriet is let's get rid of freezes. Harriet is a kind of a salesperson who sells something through her website. So obviously then she has some customer information, and customers log in to buy something through her website. So their username, password, everything will be stored in a cookie. Alright? So now what happens is Gerard tries to gather those cookies and store them in his own database. Now he has to do it in such a way that nobody sees them, sees how he sees what is going on. Okay? So he maintains his own, so he wants to gather all those cookies and store them in this password database that he owns. So for that, what he does is, he writes this small JavaScript. Okay? How many of you know the real JavaScript? Alright, so he writes a small JavaScript and inserts that in a forum. You know, you have discussion forums in YouTube or whatever website. So like that, say Harriet's website, where she sells everything, has a discussion forum. And in the discussion forum, he posts this JavaScript. Alright, so nowadays that's why in discussion forums there will be a moderator who goes through your comments. So they don't let you to automatically upload your comments or display those comments. And so they'll moderate that. And one reason is they want to make sure you don't include any such JavaScripts. Okay? So in this script, as you see what he is doing, once someone loads the forum, let's say a genuine user who doesn't know what's going on, he just logs into his account and then opens his forum, then this JavaScript will be executed. And this JavaScript, as you see, it tries to load the website that Gerald is hosting. And then in that website, he's running a PHP page called steel.php. And only one parameter is passed from to that PHP page, and that parameter is actually the cookie of that user who logs in. So a genuine user, say some victim, the victim logs in to Harriet's website. Okay. A victim logs into Harriet's forum, and here the JavaScript of Gerald is running, and the cookie of this user, the victim, is transferred to the steal.php in Gerard's website. So now we need to look at the PHP code. We're not going to go through the details though, but if you know PHP what it is, okay, you gather using the get method that cookie, the password, okay, and store it in the database. So that's what you want. You wanted to steal the cookie of that user, the victim, okay? And all these things should happen without the victim really noticing that the control is going on this steal.php page executing. So what you should do is you should immediately after you gather the cookie, you should pass the control back to Harriet's website. So all these things should happen like just when the forum is loaded, the control should go to the steal.php of Gerald's website, the cookie should be transferred there, and then the control should come back to the Harriet's forum. So the user, the victim, doesn't really see what is going on.
So can Harriet's website?
Control comes back to Harriet's website.
They can't detect it either?
Unless you moderate it. If you don't moderate and you allow whoever to post whatever they want, this could happen. So that's why you have to moderate all your user comments and make sure they don't include any such JavaScript. Yes? Good. Surprised that something like this could happen?
How we stop this?
How we stop this? As I said, we moderate it so that if somebody enters that comment, don't let the comments to be posted in the forum right away. You know, have you experienced that? Have you participated in some discussion forums?
Yeah, if you want to put a comment about the website or that was somebody else's idea, there's a form in the bottom you can fill it out.
There's like some news article is there, right? Even a CNN or any news article, you read the article and then you type your comments. Some websites allow your comments to be immediately posted, right? That's not really a good idea because something like this could happen. If you could enter a JavaScript, then whoever opens the forum, their cookie could be transferred to the steal.php site.
No, WLBT is like that.
Huh?
WLBT is like that. You can
Yeah, even
immediately post.
YouTube is like that. Okay? But if you really want to design a good forum, you should not let users to be able to post their messages right away. You should gather those messages, scan through, again sanitize or do whatever you want on those messages to make sure there's no such malicious scripts. And once you're thorough and confident, then you can post those comments. Some websites do that. It takes some time, so the user doesn't see his comments right away, but that's the advantage. Okay? Alright, so I am working on your third project involving PHP, so this is a good time to learn PHP if you don't know this, and some JavaScript. Alright, so this is what is this attack, okay, cross-site scripting. So why I said this statement, the user trusts a website, the victim, he doesn't know all these things going on, so he just innocently opens the forum and tries to do whatever he wants. But behind the scene, what happens? This cookie is being stolen by this small JavaScript of Jira, and then the control comes back.
Besides denial of service, what could be the other damages that it cause?
Your password is being stolen.
But just to that site, right?
Yes. So, which means Gerard has access to your password for that site, so he can use that and do whatever the victim could do. Right? So, why again? So the user trusts it because he opens the forum thinking nothing will go wrong. Right? So that's why he trusts that website is properly designed and nothing will go wrong, and opens the forum, but all these things happen. Okay? So that's why it's called wrong. Now this is called a persistent attack. Why? Because once you put this JavaScript in the forum, whoever opens the forum will be subjected to this attack. So it has a kind of a broader impact. The sense that whichever user tries to open the forum will go through this. So their cookies will be stolen. Okay, so that's why it's called persistent, which means it exists for a long time. The impact of this could be felt for a long time. Okay. The other kind of attack is called non-persistent. So the non-persistent attack is something that doesn't have a broader impact, but it is easy to launch. Okay. Whereas the persistent has a broader impact, but it's difficult to launch. You have to really be able to log into a forum and post a JavaScript and still escape from the moderators. That's why most of the moderate websites do some kind of moderation nowadays to prevent such attacks. Now in the non-persistent, let's go through this example. There's again a person by the name Margaret who runs an e-commerce site, and she frequently sends out some emails to her customers telling if there's a sale or something like that. And let's say there is a malicious guy by name, or first, by the way, this is say the general email that she sends out. And as you see, as part of the email, she puts a link to her store. And let's say there is some sale for the winter cloths or some collection. Okay, so this is a genuine email, nothing wrong in this. So she just says, if someone clicks on this, the winter collection will be loaded from her website. Okay. So now what happens is a bad guy notices that she sends out emails, and that's true as a privacy issue also. You should make sure when you send emails to more than one person, you should not display all the email IDs in the two address. You should blind copy so that nobody sees the other person's email address. Okay, so let's assume she doesn't know all this privacy rules, so she puts everybody's email address. Some people still do that in the two address. Okay, and she sends out from some website, from email address like this, and so on. So one person, it could be an insider attack in the sense that the bad person could be one of her own customers. Okay, and what he could do is, let's say, again, Gerald. So he could create, of course, he may not know her the password for email address. So he creates a very similar email address, margaret@margaretonline.net, hers ends with .com. So he cannot, of course, create the same thing. So he creates something like this, and then crafts an email that is something like this. Okay, so very similar to what she sent, but in the URL, okay, that you see it links to her search page for the winter collection. So this is what she had in her thing also. But instead of saying winter, that's what she had in her email, you include now a JavaScript. So this is a JavaScript that is embedded to that URL. Okay. So now what happens if someone gets the email and they click on this link, right? So the search.php page is loaded, but immediately this JavaScript will be executed. So again, it's the same JavaScript that Gerard had before. The control passes to the skill.php website, and whoever clicks on that link, their cookie will be transferred to Gerald's page. Okay? And then once the JavaScript is executed, or the skill.php is executed, the control comes back to Margaret's website. So all of this happens just when you click on the link, and then the password, the cookies is transferred, and then the control comes back to the search page, and the winter collection could be loaded. Okay? So the genuine user or the victim doesn't even realize that he lost his, or someone took his cookie, the password. Right? Now it's called non-persistent. Why? Because it doesn't have a broader impact. Only someone who clicks on that link by opening this email is subjected to this. It's not like whoever opens a forum will be subjected to this attack. So that's why it's called a non-persistent cross-site scripting attack. Okay. And so to see this because if you see, that's why you have to have some kind of awareness on all these things. So when you get an email and ask you to click on a link, you have to be careful. When you click on a link, make sure you click on the right one. Sometimes you could see even on the bottom of your browser if anything shows up, or sometimes the IP address or some JavaScript may show up on the bottom of your browser, right? So don't click on anything blindly. You have to be very careful. And especially when you see something like this, you have to be you have to realize it's a JavaScript that will be executed once you click on this link, right? Any question? So, have you come across something called URL encoding? If you have done some web programming, so for senior projects, you should be able to do something like this. So if you have not learned PHP, time to learn. If you want anything that has to do with the web. Okay, so as I said, if someone looks at this, they may become suspicious, so they may not click on the link. So in order to make a user to click on the link, especially if it's a sales or something as an advertisement, you encode all those characters with their hexadecimal ASCII value like this. Okay, so I didn't show the full URL. Starting from where they say collection equals, it should say winter ideally, but this is, the whole thing is nothing but the JavaScript written in hexadecimal ASCII value. So a user may be tempted because the email says winter sale or whatever, and they want to see what collection is there. So they may not even care. They may think about it, but I don't know what it is, so let me just hope for the best and click on this link. Okay? And this is nothing but the JavaScript. Okay, so this will be executed and the cookie will be transferred. All right. Okay, so we went through those two attacks, persistent and non-persistent. So as I said, persistent attacks are difficult to detect and they pose a more serious threat because they can affect every user of a site. Whereas non-persistent attacks pose less serious risk and it is easy to catch those attacks, but of course easy to launch also. Okay? And
Dr. Moore,
Yes.
Dr. May, on those non-persistent attacks, do you always have to click on something, or can it be launched without you being
there's
active?
this is an example, but in general what a non-persistent means, the attack will not have a broader impact, it will just impact one user or something like that. The attack is very broader. If it affects every user, right, then it becomes a persistent attack. Okay? Okay, so the next attack is called cross-site request forgery attack, called XSRF in short. So this attack, again the opposite of it, here the website trusts a user. So once a user has logged in, the website typically executes whatever the user tries to do. Okay, so because the user has been authenticated, so he has logged in, so ideally whatever he asks should be executed, right? That's what the website thinks. It trusts the user, right? Because he has been authenticated already using his username and password, so let me just do whatever he wants to do. But that's not a good design, as we'll see now. Okay? We'll come back to these points after we go through this example. So again, this has a very broad reach in the sense that any website when they design, they have to go make sure it is protected from this attack. Otherwise, it has a very broad impact, because whoever uses this, once they log in, they will be subjected to this. Okay? So let's take another interesting example. There is a user or attacker by name Courtney, and she has an account in her website in a bank. This is the name of the bank, Fifth National Bank, Tulsa, and this is a website address. So she logs in as a customer and she does a transaction, and she sees that when she transfers some money, say from one account of her to another account of her, so this is the target or destination account to which you are transferring money, and this is the amount you want to transfer. Again, if you have done some web programming, this is using what, the get method. So that's where the values are passed explicitly. If you use a post method, then the values will not be passed explicitly. So that is more secure from web security point of view. Okay? So always use a post approach to input values from your form rather than the get method. Okay? What happens is, if you pass this to the PHP page will use the get method and see that get these two values. The first is the account number, and the second is the amount you want to transfer to the account. So she sees that always whenever she tries to transfer to some account, that account number and the amount you want to transfer are passed explicitly as part of this URL or this PHP call to this PHP page. Okay? So then what she decides is, this could be misused, okay? This could be misused by doing what? Again, an email approach where she sends an email. Again, if you've done some web programming, you could load an image. ING is a kind of keyword, and the source from where the image will be loaded. Okay? So ideally you should put some name of the JPEG file or whatever file, or some path for that file, and then the height of the image you want to display, and then the width, whatever you want, and then some kind of aesthetic aspect of this. But you see, for all of this she puts 0. Which means, and also she's not passing an image name, she passes what? The URL that will be typically sent out if you want to transfer some money. And she puts her account number and some amount, say $10,000 or whatever the dollars. So she sends out, she puts this as part of an email body and sends out to some customers of that bank. Okay? So when someone opens this email, this image will, that email program will try to load this image. Okay? So what happens at this time? If those customers have a cookie like a username and password for themselves stored in their computer, and they open this email on the same computer, what will happen? Because this means what? They are trying to log into that bank site, right? So using the username and password, the cookies that are stored in their computer, the customer or the victim is basically logged in to that bank site by executing this website. And
So
then
they have to click on it?
Yeah, they don't even have to click on this because this is embedded as part of an image. So when you open the email body, the image will email program will try to load this image. Right? Sometimes you get pictures as part of your email, right? So behind the scene, what happens? The image is being loaded to your email, right? So the email program will try to load this image and try to execute this whatever is part of the source. And it's not a path, it's a website address, right? So what happens? It tries to execute this, and it sees that it's a website address. So the customer is basically logged in to that bank site because the computer has the username and password as stored as cookie. So they don't have to explicitly go to the site and log in. Implicitly, they are logged into that site. And not only that, once they log in, this transfer.php page will be executed, and whatever some amount she has quoted over here, that amount will be transferred to this account.
To transfer to which account?
This account. This is her account. Courtney, the attacker's account. Because the way it says is to the account number, right? And then amount. So if that person has whatever the amount she has put here in the balance bank, then that amount will be transferred to her account. Without anything, without the knowledge of the user, because just they open the email and the script will be executed. Okay?
So if you don't know who the email from, you shouldn't open it.
Yes, especially if it's better to open a pure text email, not something that comes with a picture file or anything.
Dr. Meg, you know sometimes you have like in Yahoo, it'll just show you the text part of it, and then at the top it'll say show images.
That's really, yeah, because it gets your permission whether you want all those other things to be loaded. Normally they display only the text, and they say show content or show image or whatever. So once you click on this, then only it will open up all those other things, because it's asking your permission. Yeah, that's where you have to be careful. You want to load those images or not. Okay?
So 2 rules. If you don't know the person, don't open the email.
Just see the text portion and don't click on the show content or
But if
show
you
image.
do not, if you do not click on display the image, so he cannot.
This cannot be done.
Oh.
So basically just watch, if you just look at the text, don't worry about the images.
Right, right. And also, I have been using Hotmail, and I saw that once you click, say, you got some email from, say, Bob or whoever, and you say show content, show image once, I believe that email software like Hotmail, it is considering that person as a safe user. So the next time you get the email from that person, you will see all the images. You don't have to explicitly click on the show content. You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be very careful, because once you say click it once for that particular sender, that person will be stored in a safe list or something like that in your email thing, so account. So the next time you get an email from that person, the image will be loaded automatically. So you have to be very careful who you put in the safe. Of course, you can go to the safe list explicitly and remove users from that list, but